Welcome to the New to Wrestling podcast, where I, your host, Xavier Cruz, a lifelong wrestling fan, will take a lifelong friend through the action, the joys, and the drama of the world of professional wrestling. My co-host, Kelsey Silva, has been bitten by the wrestling bug, and I want to invite you to join us as I take her through the moments that made me a fan. So if you're new to wrestling and would like to get brought up to speed, or a fan who would like to relive some classic matches, promos, and segments through fresh eyes, join us as we embark on a journey through the Attitude Era and beyond. Welcome to the New to Wrestling podcast. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the New to Wrestling podcast. This week, we watched the November 18th, 1996 edition of Monday Night Raw, and the match card is as follows. We had Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Mankind. We had Farouk versus Savio Vega. We had Leif Cassidy and Bob Holly versus Doug Furnas and Philip LaFawn.
Weird.
Such a weird tag team, and we'll get there. We will get there.
But wow, what a weird thing.
So this episode is the return episode from the Survivor Series, or the Fallout episode, if that's pick your poison, however you want to call it. It starts with a cold open of Stone Cold's glass breaking. We have ditched the 80s theme song.
Yeah. Which taking a break,
which is fine by me. Like, I don't know if it's just a this week kind of situation or not, or they were like, hey, like we'll just take those 30 seconds back. Whatever.
Fine by me. Because also
start the episode.
We like high school children like watch it in tandem because we do not live close to each other at this time, and like we can't ever skip the intro because like it's too much of like we might get thrown off, so we just have to watch it.
We watch it every time, so we're just sitting there like. like that opening whatever noise. Was that not it?
I swear to God, no.
Stand there like little kids waiting for the bus, just like oh my god. Now that I'm beet red and a little sweaty, we can continue.
Woo! Oh my god, yeah, I was not expecting that.
This match was supposed to be Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Vader, but apparently Vader got injured by Yokozuna. So he's going to be out of action for a little bit. Apparently not that long, because
like a couple weeks.
The way that Vince McMahon made it sound was just like he'll be back in a little bit.
He's got a little boo-boo. He'll be back. It did look kind of bad though.
Oh,
like,
how he landed?
It looked kind of like
jarring.
It wasn't. Yeah.
It's well, at this point, Yokozuna is the biggest he has ever been.
Yeah.
So, and at this point in his career, he's kind of just getting kind of too big to be like safely doing things. Like, don't get me wrong, for being as big as he is still like
mobile, agile, hostile. Right.
But at the same time, like, he moves well for somebody who's 700 pounds. Like, it gets pretty bad. And like, if you know his like kind of life story, he just kind of doesn't stop. So like,
I did not know that.
Yeah. So basically, there's going to be a point coming up in the near-ish future that he's going to be basically the WWF is going to come to him and basically be like, hey, like, can we help you deal with like this? Because it's clearly like a health issue. And they kind of, he's a very like proud man. He kind of like refuses. And it gets to the point where he's not really able to like do much as far as like being like a wrestler goes. So he eventually gets let go. And he kind of floats around like the independents and all these things, which is crazy because he like has headlined WrestleManias and all this stuff. But like sadly, he kind of doesn't change his habits and passes away at a young age. So yeah.
The way I'm going to be on Wikipedia later reading this.
Baby, like, there's a documentary on Peacock. You can watch it.
Oh, yeah, I'll be in there because I need to know all of that. Wow, oh my god, that's so sad.
It is so sad.
Love him.
So I'm not like super surprised that he's like at this point
Yeah, I mean, accidents happen regardless of your size. I don't want to necessarily be like, oh, it's because he's like a large competitor. That's not what it is. It's just at this point in his career, he's barreling towards, problems. So
wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is tea. I did
it's
not
very
know that's where
upsetting.
this was
Yeah.
going. Yeah, that's really sad. Because isn't he also isn't he also related to The Rock somehow? Weren't we talking about this?
Yeah. He's
They're
part
like
of that
cousins?
family. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Wow, that is fascinating. I'm gonna have to watch that.
Mankind was chosen as the replacement for this match, which we
Wild.
found out when Mankind comes barreling out from the entryway and attacks Stone Cold Steve Austin from behind, and they just get into it all over the arena. All over the arena. It's like I want to say, were in the ring for the grand total of ding ding, and then they barreled back outside.
Yep.
Like they wrestled all around the arena, all around the ringside area. They were throwing each other into like the guardrails, the side, like the steel steps,
the table,
they were at one point at the top of the ramp, just like a high school fight, just like holding on to each other and like rolling, and like so they did everything but start this match.
Yep.
So by the time they finally like both get into the ring, we've already seen like 5 minutes of them just like absolutely brawling on each other.
It was a long time. Like I was like, did the match start? Because they've been fighting a long time. And Xavier was like, no, because they haven't gone into the ring. And I was like, whoa, like
yeah, they haven't even made it in there.
Long time.
Referees came out. We had like the Stooges came out. It was like it was a mess. It was
whole thing. I loved it though.
It was fantastic because it's exactly how those two would fight.
Yeah, and Jerry the King actually said something so relatable. I know, shocking. But he said something so relatable. He was like, they were like, well, Vince McMahon was like, well, you're looking pleased over there, King. And he goes, I don't care who wins. I just want to see somebody get hit. And I was like, wait, honestly, me for real. Like, for real, watching wrestling. Because
everybody in that building was like, yep.
You know what? He went off with that. I'm not going to lie.
So at one point, Mankind has Stone Cold in the mandible claw, and we think like, oh, here we go again. But apparently the referee was distracted by something, and Stone Cold hits him with a low blow, and it is like it is just square on. Like, oh my god,
I felt it.
That's what I'm saying.
It was bad. I don't honestly like Mick Foley. What a G. Like, because he seriously just kept wrestling. I was like, I would have thrown up, cried, and left. Like,
right.
There's no way.
There's no way.
Order. There's no way I would have been like, oh, bummer. And then been like,
let's keep going.
No way.
Heinous, absolutely heinous. Also, this match was not the match for next. At one point,
not at all.
Mankind like hangs like Stone Cold Steve Austin with a neck breaker over the top rope before they like cut to like a commercial break, and it is like how low like Steve's neck was just hanging over the rope. Brutal. It was absolutely brutal.
It was like a Looney Tunes, like Pixar something, kind of like you draw the like slingshot back, like that's how
very like Roadrunner, like Wile E. Coyote, like kind of like nonsense.
Zoing, like it was so exaggerated, but it was real life. Like it was just insane. And then there's a very violent receipt, I guess, later.
Yeah, well, because then Stone Cold hangs Mankind over the like the steel guardrail outside and does like essentially the same thing, and it's just like, oh, it's so bad.
Not the same. It's not because the same. It's terrible.
It's because Mick Foley sells in a way that's like very different than how like other wrestlers sell. Do you know what I mean? Like it looks very different. Like it looks like he's like every move that is inflicted like upon him is like his whole body is into it. Like when like Shawn Michaels like sells, it's because it's so believable. It's because he's like a smaller like athlete and can like throw himself like around.
Yes.
And you really like that makes sense in your like brain. But like there's something about like the way that like Mick Foley, Mankind any of his iterations you want to call him sells, is that the disregard for his own body when he sells is what like makes it so like you just like have a connection to him, because you start to feel like bad, because you like know that he's a person, like you know that doesn't feel good, like, but the way that he just like continually just like absolutely takes these things is second to none.
And that's such a good point, because I don't think I would have ever thought about that unless you'd said it, because like if you're comparing him to like a Shawn Michaels, who like he sells but in a way where it's like, get up, Shawn, like he's like the underdog and he's like kind of flopping around like a fish, and like it's like, and then he's like keeps on swinging, like, and Mankind is just like, see how much abuse he can take, and his body's just like, all right, like he, like, yes, you can see he feels it, and then he's just like, okay, like it's like, so different.
Yeah, and that's what adds on to his like why he's so intimidating in that regard, is because it's just like what do I have to do to this man? Like what?
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like if I'm already doing all of this and he's still just like coming back up, you know what I mean? He's like it's like it gives you the same, like we've talked about this before, that horror villain, like okay, like you think you got him, but like he just like pulls the axe out and just like keeps stumbling towards you, and it's just like that's terrifying, because it's just like
horrifying,
like because to be on the back foot, like, you know, psychology wise in a wrestling match with somebody who's just like relentless like that is mentally daunting as well as like physically daunting.
Because it's inhuman, like you said. It's like a horror movie. Like you shoot the zombie like 100 times, but it's just like it's still coming for you.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
That's I feel like that's such a great distinction to make.
During this match, we do get a little announcement for next week, which is very exciting. That Bret Hart will be returning to action on Raw versus Owen Hart, and
that's big T, honestly.
Love it.
Love to see it.
Love it. First of all, they're brothers. Great. The story sells itself. You don't need to do anything.
Immediately.
We already know Owen's a little brat. Like we all know.
We all see
and
it.
We both know that like they are so good. They are both so good. So
I'm surprised they're doing it as fast as they are. Sometimes I'm like, sometimes the WWF is so funny because it'll be like such a slow burn, like the build, like Sycho Sid and Shawn Michaels. It was like they were friends, and then it was like a slow burn, and then other times they're like they're fighting next week. Like they just get right to it. It's like
right. But the thing is, this is not like Owen is not Bret Hart's like next rival. We already know that Bret is the #1 contender to Sycho Sid's like title. So I think this is like kind of a match it's just like an easy, like you're interested. You know what I mean? You can announce it like 100%. That because like because of the context of them being brothers, them being trained by the same people, them like having very similar styles, like you don't have to do a lot of build up in that regard because the story is who they are essentially.
It's so true. Oh my god, I'm really, really excited for that.
Oh, it's gonna be great. So back to the match. We are in the midst of them beating the holy hell out of each other. And earlier in the match, I had asked, I was like, where's the executioner? Like, are we done with him? Like, just like boo-boo the fool. Just really thought that like they were just done.
I was like, hopefully they dumped him. He sucked.
Right. I was just like, maybe they like caught on to what I was putting down and they were just like, but no, really working. Here comes the executioner running down in his little singlet and his stupid Party City mask. Comes in and attacks Stone Cold Steve Austin, giving him the disqualification victory. But silver lining to his little appearance is that the Undertaker comes out and absolutely clears house. He said, nope. And the best part of that whole spiel of the Undertaker being out here is the Undertaker's turned around, faced the aisle where Mankind and Paul Bearer are retreating with their little tails tucked between their legs, and Stone Cold Steve Austin, being the absolute menace that he is, cannot accept help, so he then attacks the Undertaker from behind, like clotheslines him over, but the Undertaker just lands on his feet ever so gracefully and just turns around and is like, excuse me?
Because I thought
and then he
a
grabs
dumb bitch said something.
That's what he said, was that a fly? What happened? So he climbs back into the ring, and then Stone Cold is like, no, I'm smarter than that. He's like, I'm not doing that.
I love to see it.
So we do love to see it. The Undertaker really ended up on a high note, and we know, I mean, this feud's not over. We knew it wasn't over at Survivor Series with how the match ended. Undertaker wants hands on Paul.
He wants Paul.
Right.
And I get it. Me too. The same way that Xavier asked where the executioner was, I was like, okay, but is Undertaker going to come out? Because they're so vulnerable. Like, Paul Bear is literally
sitting
right
ducks.
They're just sitting right there. And they're very distracted by Stone Cold because he's a very formidable opponent. You know, it's not like 2 weeks ago when they had him fight Freddie Joe Floyd. You know, it's Stone Cold 2000. So I was like, he's like, that would be great. I didn't think he would, though, because he's so aloof. He's so mysterious. But he came, and thank God. And the executioner, I'm sorry, like I said it while we were watching it, he really just, I'm not even convinced it's the same person every time, because they look kind of different, and maybe it is, but to me I was like,
might
that
be
looks
the
like
same
a different
person,
guy.
but like I have, like, other than my hatred of his just kind of general aesthetic, he doesn't leave a big enough imprint for me to remember him.
Right. I'm like
as far as like what he looks like, I know like it's just beefy dude mask, and then after that I'm like, I'm out.
But it could be any beefy dude off the street.
Could
we
be
have
any
no
beefy
idea.
dude.
We don't know
no
anything.
Idea.
We don't know anything about why is he an executioner.
He hasn't said a word. It's been a month. Hasn't said a word. He's just there.
I just can't.
After that match, we get a kind of Survivor Series recap. A little, here's what you missed on Glee. The big highlights of that are specifically Bret Hart's return, obviously, and that we have a new champion in Sycho Sid. Which
crazy.
Is still wild to us because
insane.
This podcast has only ever had one champion.
Hello? So, okay, that's what I'm saying.
It's like, I liken it to when my sister says "not my Dumbledore" to the second Dumbledore. It's like, not my champion.
I have almost made that joke so many times, like almost been like hashtag not my champion.
Right, not mine.
But and again, well, I guess we'll get into it when Sycho Sid comes on later, but like you kind of have to love him, like, and everybody else like loves him so much, but we'll get into it.
And then it cuts to what is going to be the next match, which is Farouk versus Savio Vega. But first, it cuts to the audience where we have Ahmed Johnson descending from the crowd, and he seemed to have got himself a ticket. He came and sat right down in the crowd. He said, I got a golden ticket.
I gotta go. No, but literally some guy made, like some usher, like made some other guy get up so that I could sit down.
He's like, no, that's for him. And like,
get up.
If you turned around and saw Ahmed Johnson there, just like you'd be like, gotta go.
100%. I'd be like, do you want me to also like lay down on the floor and you can use me as a footrest? Or
right. Well, no, actually.
Do you want me to get you something? You want me to get you a soda?
You need anything? Snacks, a condom? Like,
oh, I love you so much.
And then it cuts to Sonny, who is randomly here once again.
For what?
We haven't done one in a minute. The Jerry the King Lawler quote of the episode is I think Vince McMahon is like, or JR is like, what's Sonny doing out here? And Jerry, without missing a beat, is just like, looking good. And you're like, relax. You're like, whoa. Like, it was just like the fervor that he said it was just like,
oh my god, but also
yet, dude, relax. Like, she hasn't even made it. She hasn't put a headset on. She can't hear you. I need you to calm down because I can hear you going into heat and it's awkward.
It's weird. Okay, but honestly, energy though. Like, I swear, like, what's she doing here? Looking good. Like, if my friends don't ride for me like that, get out. Seriously.
Get out.
Because honestly, hate him if you want to. He was like, that's Bay. I gotta rep Bay. And like, you
know what? I'll give him that. At least he's consistent with something.
Consistent, yeah. Is it consistently creepy? Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
But at least it's consistent. It's more than some of y'all do, let me tell you that.
But it is consistent.
Okay, looking.
So this week, looking good. So this week, Kelsey actually came across, or I sent Kelsey a
oh my
kind
God.
of where are they now of Sonny. And I think Kelsey just kind of wants to go just touch base.
You guys, seriously, this is crazy. So Xavier sent me this post on Instagram, and I don't remember exactly what the meme of it was, or like the text or whatever it was.
Oh,
but
it was like when your high school crush
finally wants to give you a chance.
Yes,
but
and
it's
it was like a before and after of Sonny.
But
go ahead.
But okay, so first of all, I think it's so apropos that we're talking about her right now, and literally Vince McMahon just said like she is like the first lady of the WWF. Like she is at her peak right now, her prime, even though she has no champions, whatever. But I'm just gonna say it. When Xavier sent me this post and that was her now picture, like the fact that she's embroiled in something so public right now while we're doing this, talking about her in her prime, is so weird to me how the universe works. But the after picture, like what she looks like now, I legit did not believe that it was her.
No,
I actually asked. I was like, is this actually her, or this is someone who like kind of vaguely resembles her, and like so they're making a joke? And Xavier's like, no, that's really her. And I was like, and just to say, she's in a prison jumpsuit. And I was like, wait a minute.
That's the most like alarming whatever.
She looks like glazed over, terrified in a orange prison jumpsuit,
right,
handcuffed in prison in a courtroom. That's why I was like, wait a minute. So I looked it up because I was like, why is she in a courtroom? This is really insane and honestly not that funny at all, but she allegedly was drunk driving or DUI, so under the influence of alcohol or some other substance,
yeah,
and rear-ended someone so hard that even though they were not ejected from the vehicle, the injuries, the impact of them hitting the airbag or like whatever happened, was fatal. Their injuries were fatal and that person died.
Like, isn't that insane?
That is so.
And that's happening right now. Like
now, she is in trial. So she's awaiting sentencing. From what I understand, she didn't. I forget what it is. There's a Latin word for it. She didn't plead guilty or non-guilty. It's like I forget what it is. It's some sort of like courtroom nonsense. That means like she accepts the charges but won't openly admit that she did it. Like, so it's like you're saying you're guilty without saying you're guilty, basically. Like she basically doesn't want it on her record or maybe conscience or whatever that she is guilty, but she also did it, so she's not guilty.
Right.
So, or she's, yeah. So she does the secret third thing, which has some weird name, and it means like I accept the charges that will be brought against me even though I'm not admitting fault or guilt.
Got it.
Which is crazy, which is loony. And I didn't read too much farther into it beyond that. I'm going to, because I started getting, I absolutely will. I started getting more into like her life, how she got into the WWE/F, and like, her journey afterwards, and like doing things which we'll talk about some other time. But yeah, like, so she, as far as I know now at this point, she's just awaiting sentencing, which she could face up to 25 years, which is
that is wild, so crazy
and really just crazy. And I don't know if there are any if anyone knows of any documentaries about her and like her life, because you can read all you want, and I am a monthly donator to Wikipedia, so I make sure that their information is accurate, which you all should be, but we use it enough. But there's only so much you can read about on Wikipedia or like on articles that people post. So like, if anyone has a good documentary or the tea or whatever, we would love to discuss, because it is fascinating and just really interesting. Like small spoiler, I had no idea that she was married to Skip from the Body Donnas, and that's how she got into wrestling.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. Like,
no idea.
Beats me.
So I'm gonna like read more, glean more information. Please reach out to us with more tea, because I'm, this is like so wild to me.
Right.
And so sorry to that. I think it was I'm pretty sure it was a man that died. Like, so sorry to him and his family. It's pretty terrible.
Right. Which is, it's just so baffling, because like we love we love to, poke fun at Sonny.
Yeah.
But then when like I like sent the meme like, as whatever, and then the research was just like, wow.
I thought it was gonna be like tax evasion, like
right.
your standard, like fallen from grace, like not that she's necessarily fallen from grace, but like quote unquote fallen from grace.
Right.
Kind
of like white collar crime.
She moved to Florida, like I was expecting like I maybe suspected DUI, but not DUI vehicular manslaughter.
Right.
That's not what I expected.
That was a left turn. That was
I was expecting the bare minimum, like nothing that crazy, but then you read it and you're like, oh no, this is a crime, like a very serious crime. So crazy. On that note,
we're gonna flash back to 1996.
She was wearing a
and where she is just comfortably flirting with Jerry all night long
with no idea what's to come. I hate having this burden of the truth of the future.
Amen.
I hate it. They're so happy right there.
I know.
God.
You're gonna have a few moments like that.
The burden of knowledge is wild. Anyway.
It's heavy. Now we are gonna have the kind of first real match of Farouk as part of the Nation of Domination. We get two rappers who come and sing.
The way you said, you're like two rapper, like you like had to pull your glass down and go rappers.
Because I'm gonna be honest, that was a little generous.
Oh, absolutely it was. It was something.
It was something. Listen, I got nothing, honestly. It was just weird.
Listen to the sound of silence. That's all I got.
Which was like the crowd also, because they had to sit there and just because like first of all, the rap wasn't long enough for him to make it to the ring. So at the end they were just ad-libbing for like a solid minute. And it was not good. Like,
it was really bad, actually.
It was not good. They just kept like repeating themselves and like it was odd choices were made. So he will be facing Savio Vega. Poor Savio Vega. I feel like this man is not probably necessarily like in the favor of Vince McMahon.
I know.
I hate because he's too good not to be able to compete with these people, like like the staples of the weekly television. But he's not given the same kind of like he doesn't win a lot,
right? And like it's not like they ever give him the opportunity to like speak, really. Like
no,
even when he had like a pseudo beef with Stone Cold, that really didn't like It wasn't like Savio Vega's in the locker room getting hype. Like, what do you have to say about it? Like, they didn't give it the same energy as they do others.
Right. Correct. So I always like you take it with a grain of salt, especially like considering like this is Farouk's first outing as like having his own faction or whatever. So you kind of like the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, like
that's
you know what's gonna happen.
And that's a little like it's a little upsetting because he's so talented. Like he's so talented.
God. I love him. I love him so much. Every time I see him, I'm like, oh, go off. And he would throw hands for you in a minute.
Oh, 100%.
In a minute.
Because he comes out literally at any opportunity. Anytime like somebody's like in need of like some hands, he just comes like all of a sudden for some reason Savio Vega is running from a direction, just coming with hands.
I love it. I love it. Like he doesn't care whose beef it is. He's throwing hands. He's engaging in fisticuffs. I enjoy it. The end.
So Savio Vega starts this match very springy. He's all over the place. He's like monkey flipping Farouk out of the corner. He's like outmaneuvering him. He's very just like all over the place. There's the running theme of this match, as far as like I'm concerned, is no, really, why is Sonny out here? Because like I get it, like by all means, Jerry, looking good. However, she is no longer managing Farouk. She's no longer managing anybody. So she has like this like vague past tie to Farouk that she was like his first manager, and now they're just like friends, even though I've never once seen them speak to each other. So there's that. And then she's just kind of on commentary for every one of Farouk's like matches. And it's so weird because he's clearly being managed by Clarence Mason, like because he's standing beside him at all
walking
times.
out with him, walking
at ringside,
like to the locker room with him, coaching him on the side.
Like clearly he's moved on. So
why can't you?
What's the deal with this? What's the
and
deal?
like, but she did say something about how like Vince McMahon asked her outright, like, do you still have a contract with Farouk under contract? Thank you. And she was like, I'm not at liberty to say, like, but it was funny. She was like, I bet you don't even know. And he was like, yeah, that's why I'm asking. Do you?
No, it was so funny because she was definitely just like being antagonistic, like just for the sake of it, and just kind of put her foot in her mouth.
Yeah, she's like, for all you know, I could have just loaned him to Clarence Mason. I was like, girl, we know that's not what happened.
Sure.
Clarence Mason is a lawyer. You think he let you?
You think he
take a loan?
You think he left a loophole?
Yeah.
Okay. So Farouk at one point during this match performs the most heinous spine buster I have ever seen.
Yeah.
Savio Vega is running the ropes. He jumps as if he's gonna like I don't know, press him down, clothesline him, something. And Farouk catches him and just absolutely just like splats him on the mat.
Oh god, it was so bad.
It was so bad they replayed it. That's how you know it was good. But like it was such a like good sound. Like it was such a satisfying like whack.
Yeah.
That you were just like
I was like, I don't want to see it again. I don't want to see it again. And then it was like doing.
This match was very competitive. We did get a lot of cuts to Ahmed, obviously, in the crowd. He was like signing, first of all, in the beginning, he was like signing autographs for like the people around him, and then like as the match like progressed, he just looked like big mad, just kind of like,
and he was wearing a Survivor Series hat, which I thought was funny,
right? Because he wasn't there,
yeah.
So they probably just like threw it on him before he went out.
Yeah, they went, here you go.
Oh.
They fall. Are you gonna say that?
Yes.
Because
yes. So there is a point in this match where both Farouk and Savio Vega are like straddling the top rope, and they both just like one of them trips, it looks like, and brings them both down.
Outside
but it looks
of the ring.
Horrible. It's
horrible.
Clearly a mistake. It
Obviously.
Clearly was not supposed to happen. And they recovered as best as they could, but they hit the mother effing deck. They both splatted. Like it was not good. Like
because Farouk was like facing in towards the ring, and Savio Vega's facing out, and he was trying to set him up to like, I don't know, like suplex him off the top rope, and like you literally said before having like he hasn't got it. Or he doesn't have him, or something like that. And I was like, what? And then they both like
I don't know. There was something about the way the way Savio was like trying to grab Farouk that just like I was like, he doesn't look comfortable. Like you know what I mean? And like he looks
huge.
Right. But like even then, like it's they're professionals. There's just something about the way that it looked where you're just like, that looks awkward. Like something isn't working the way that it should,
and it didn't,
and they both just hit the absolute deck.
What is it, like over tea kettle, ass over tea kettle?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is that? It
it? Whatever, weird saying if it is, but either way, they both went backwards off the back of the ring and like fell directly onto the floor. Like
bad. So they like recovered. They like threw them back in the ring. They do another exchange of like moves, or Farouk's like distracting the referee. One of the stooges outside gets the 2x4.
Oh yeah, because he walked in with the 2x4. I don't know if we mentioned that.
We did not.
Farouk walked in, nation domination, woohoo.
All leather 2x4.
2x4. Like it was Plank from Ed, Ed and Eddie. Like
right. Like he looked like
big.
Yes. Fat Plank. And
thick Plank.
Thicky planks. On the mic.
Would have been better than what he had. Sorry.
Anyway, hits him with the 2x4 and gives Farouk the victory. Obviously. But Ahmed Johnson comes storming his big ass from wherever he's sitting in the crowd.
Love him.
Down and starts clearing that ring. He gets the 2x4 from the Stooges and like gets in the ring. Everyone clears. Farouk's like hightailing it up the rampway, and then Ahmed Johnson grabs the mic, and he was just like, Farouk boy, and I was like,
he sounded so scary too. Like, we haven't heard from him
in forever.
And horrifying.
So he was just like, he's like, I've been laid up in bed for 5 months because you decided to attack me from behind. And he said, you're gonna pay. He's like, your time is now. You're not gonna see it coming, and you deserve everything that's coming. And then he starts you're going down chant with the entire arena. And then they cut to Farouk, who, by the way, has already like hightailed it up the rampway and is like, let's go. I was like, get your big ass in the ring if you wanted to fight.
Yeah, if you want to go, why don't you go back in the ring?
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I was like, don't try to act like you didn't just like start
run.
Like, no, don't even. So
you brought the 2x4. You're telling me you can't take it? Scared of it? Scared of what?
Interesting. So, then we get a update from Jose Lothario. Not from Jose Lothario.
I was like,
Jose Lothario, who was attacked the night prior in the championship match. Sycho Sid hits him with a camera. For those of you who missed it, what?
You're just like, Sycho Sid hits him with a camera. It's just so crazy.
And apparently he had some kind of like cardiac event.
But refused care at the Garden. They were like, but he refused care. They had to fly him to San Antonio.
If that's not the most, let me preface this by saying, I am also a Hispanic male. If that's not the most Hispanic male thing I've ever heard. No, I'm fine. The machismo is real.
God.
It's real. But we think we're gonna finally get the interview that they've been kind of like teasing all night with JR and Sycho Sid. But really it's just an update on Jose Lothario before we get into the main event, which is weird that this is the main event.
Weirdest. So weird.
But I guess technically it's like, I guess it's just like the final match. I guess technically the main event is Sycho Sid's like interview, because that's what ends the show.
Sure.
But we had the odd couple of Leif Cassidy of the New Rockers and Bob Holly.
So confusing. I was so confused. I was like, wait, who is this? And he's like, oh, it's what's his name from the New Rockers. I go, oh, it's the New Rockers. Okay. And then I was like,
but Bob
Holly is in the New Rockers. Like, I'm so confused. And then he's like, oh, no, it's like a mix and match. I don't know what's going on here.
No. It was random for us all. But they were facing Doug Furness and Philip LaFawn, who debuted the prior evening on Survivor Series and ended up winning their Survivor Series match for their team.
Amazing.
So this is the first time we're seeing them in straight up tag team action. They once again look very impressive. They are very agile, very strong, very young, seem hungry. We do get a backstage kind of segment with the tag team champions, because in the Survivor Series match, it was Owen Hart who ended up getting pinned and losing the match. So we got a little 2 cents from the champions, basically being like, it was a fluke. It's never going to happen again. Owen was like, I'll put the titles on the line and we'll see what happens. Once again, Owen's a brat and needs everybody to know that he's the best.
He was like, you got a good match. I was like, how is 4-on-4 a good match? Like,
right.
How is that a good, clean, easy match to start to debut on? But like, sure. We'll go with that.
So,
whatever.
Hopefully that's coming. I believe that it is, because one, we had like the new team pin Owen. Now, like they've shown up on their match. We see where we're going with this.
Right. And like Clarence Mason said something about like how they'll have to work their way up. They can't just like waltz into the WWF and like go for the title. They're going to have to like...
leads me to believe that there's going to be some kind of like tournament or specific match or battle royal where they're gonna be like, like winner takes on the champions. You know what I mean?
Okay. I would love to see a battle royal.
I love a battle royal. I really do. I can't wait till we get to the Royal Rumble, but don't get me started on that.
Okay.
So we do get a the move that finishes the match is this like sleeper suplex. It kind of looks. It doesn't look exactly. It's not exactly like a suplex that Kenny Omega uses. Do you know Kenny Omega?
Yeah, I do.
So you know where he has the two he'll have the wrestler like this and he'll hook his hands through, grab both sides of his neck, and then slam him back. It looks like that.
Oh, it
was kind of like a variation of that. But it was very much like a sleeper grip into a suplex. Which is why it looked so brutal. It just
really did.
Because all of his weight just ended up crunched onto his neck, and it was just not good.
It was rough, and it was another one that I was like, I don't need to see that again. They were like, let's watch it again. And I was like, no,
you're like, I didn't know. No, thank you.
No, and I think Vince McMahon said not a good day for necks or something. He even
I said that. Oh no,
you said it first,
earlier.
And then he said something else really hard on the necks tonight or something akin to that, and I was like,
I guess it's not just me.
Yeah.
So that gives Philip and Doug their victory, and
Billy and
we'll be seeing Billy and Doug. We'll be seeing them down the line. We end the episode with finally we get our interview with Sycho Sid, and this is the first time we're hearing from our new champion. Sycho Sid just yells.
Yeah.
If I had just one word to describe his promo style, it would just be loud. I don't
honestly, yeah.
And listen, I get the specimen that he is and what that must be like to be in the crowd and eat it up. Don't get me wrong, love that.
Yeah.
But his promos start out so strong. He comes out swinging, and you think he's got it. You really, really do. And then they make the mistake of letting this man talk for too long. Too long, because he gets flustered, fumbles, makes a minor mistake, and then feels the need to over course correct. You know what I mean? Where it's uncomfortable. It's, you know what I mean? He stumbled and then he just kept stumbling. It was watching somebody fall on ice for a minute straight, where they're just
they're slipping and sliding until they finally really go. Honestly, it really is that.
Right.
And they're just okay, thanks, Sycho Sid.
I can't even express to you how many times he said, I am the master and ruler of the world, because he just didn't have anything else to fill it in with. And it was just yikes.
And the thing is, and again, not to be a hater, it's just they're also really not asking him that hard of questions. They literally, the one that he really stumbled on, because they announced that he's going to be fighting Bret the Hitman Hart for In Your House on December 15th, which is insane and awesome. It's a shot at the title, so cool. They're like, Bret is really hungry to get the title back. What do you have to say to Bret? And for some reason, he just flopped, tripping, stumbling.
It just
and it was all you had to do is keep it so brief and just be because he started saying 2 men walk in, 1 man walks out, and then
and then he
when
was
the smoke clears, I'm standing there because
I'm the master and the ruler of the world. And you're right.
But it was a way longer walk than we just did it. It was a really long walk
because
down a really
he fumbled
short pier.
over. It was your return to the wrestling world, or your return to the WWF or World Wrestling Federation. He just couldn't wrap his mind around getting through that sentence, and it just derailed the entire thing. And
it did.
That's so disappointing, especially because it's his first outing as champion. Like it's his first. This is the first thing he does, and it's just kind of like a flop, which is like, because compared to the spectacle that he is as physically, it's just such a letdown. Because
such a letdown.
And maybe, and honestly, we have been spoiled. Shawn Michaels can talk. Can talk.
Yes.
So we set the bar very high as far as
as we should, though. He's the champion.
I agree. I'm 100% there. I'm just saying that's kind of where we're at.
Right.
I think Sid is the champion because he's looks the way he does, not necessarily for his charisma.
Yeah. And it's almost like it kind of reads how, like, not to bring up politics, hate to do that, but like how, like, usually if there's like a really like intense, aggressive president, people naturally go the opposite way when you like have one. So like we had someone, when you had like someone so aggressive, you go for like a more docile, gentler, like whatever. It kind of gives that, where we had somebody who was like so charismatic and put together, and like maybe he was a little flashy, but whatever. And like Sycho Sid is so bare bones, not necessarily bare bones, but you know what I mean. He's like just straightforward.
There is no glitz and glam. It is like, it's just, I'm gonna punch you in the face. Like,
yeah, like, and that's that. And like he's grittier, like a little bit, rasher, because like Shawn Michaels would never hit somebody with a camera. Like, but now we have somebody who would like hit somebody with a camera. And like we're kind of into that right now. Like that's just what it is. Cause like we're also, getting more akin to like the Stone Colds, like who are a little bit more like gonna give you the double bird and gonna like call out your mother and like show up at your house and like do crazy things. So it kind of makes sense. But I do want to mention Vince McMahon had like a weird little like stirring speech about Shawn Michaels before the Sycho Sid interview.
He did.
Where he was like, he gave a recap of the events so that people understood like what happened for those people who didn't watch the pay-per-view. And he was like, I just have to say, like, a lot of people didn't like Shawn Michaels, but say what you want. Like, the fact that he didn't care about the championship and like only cared about the well-being of Jose Lothario is like shows that he's a man's man. And like, that makes him all right in my book. And like,
and deserving of a rematch.
Right. Which fair. Right. Totally fair. And I'm like, is this, because I don't know, like maybe, because I said to Xavier, I was like, I didn't realize people didn't like Shawn Michaels. Like I thought everybody loved Shawn Michaels because I do. Like I thought everybody was on the same side. And that's why when we were watching the match.
You look at Shawn Michaels through the lens of what you know in 2023.
This is true.
You got to think like, as in 1996, for Shawn Michaels to do a lot of the things that he's doing was very much so considered like, you got to remember, like,
taboo.
Not necessarily like, I don't want to say like taboo, but you got to like, I think we have to put into perspective, like, even just look at other like television shows, like the roles of like masculinity and femininity are very much so like in the way that we've all like traditionally always known them. And especially in a very masculine business, like Shawn Michaels being as like flamboyant as he is does rub people the wrong way. And you got to understand like who's watching also. You like, yes, we're entering like a new era of wrestling, but you're still gonna have all of these fans who love the 6'5", 300 pounds, like blah, 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 like I'm a man. Like Shawn Michaels was really the first champion that looked the way that he does, like the size that he is, was really like flashy, did the costumes, the earrings, you know what I mean? Like that was very much so not a thing before Shawn Michaels. It was very much like you had to come out and be as menacing as like possible. Shawn Michaels really brings a kind of, I don't want to say like necessarily like femininity, but like a different kind of masculinity. The like, I'm so secure in whatever I got going on. Like, I don't care about your 2 cents. I'm going to wear what I like. I'm going to be flashy. I'm going to be annoying. I'm going to be in your face. And you can either take it or not, no sweat off my back. And I think at us, like, you know, growing up in the generation we grew up in, we love that. We eat that up. Like that.
True.
Those are the kinds of people we strive to be like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in the lens of 1996, it's just like, what's that guy doing? Like, he's so
God.
extra. Like, he's doing too much. Like, and
Wow.
that's kind of the flip side of his like appeal is like, yes, he was a big hit with like the younger fans, women, like that sort of crowd. But this older generation that like had really liked wrestling the way that it was, did not like Shawn in the beginning.
Wow, that is so interesting. I don't know
Right.
why that like that really just like put it in perspective for me that he was really like so ahead of his time.
Right.
Not even that, but like he was just like really
He was pushing the envelope. He was very much so like pedal to the metal, like you're gonna like it or hate it, but I'm gonna do something different. You know
and
what
that's
I mean?
why I think that now that you're saying that, the fact that Vince McMahon specifically said like he's a man's man is interesting, like to use that verbiage based off of like what you're saying, where he was like so clearly on the spectrum of masculinity, just maybe in a different place, like where he is like, to me, like overtly masculine, but I guess like in a different way, not like a brutish masculinity, but like you said, he's so secure that he's just like, you know, whatever, okay with being his quote unquote flamboyant self or whatever you want to say. But like
I think he's somebody that understood like the female gaze before that was like a phrase, if that makes sense.
Yes, he definitely
you know what I mean?
Sure. Oh,
like,
yeah.
I think he's somebody that kind of understood that and understood that like yes, he's like he can tap into that as like something that is marketable.
Yes.
And I think that just wasn't around, so people didn't know what to make of him. And what do people do when they most likely, like, if they don't understand something, they hate it. So like that's kind of how the flip side of his kind of like character works.
That is so interesting too. And not to bring up I don't want to bring up Drake on the podcast, but like
you can bring up Drake on the podcast.
Okay. Because it was so funny because Drake in an interview for, I think it was Rap Radar, was talking about like, you know, people used to criticize him because he like made music for girls, like quote unquote, or made music for women, like as a male rapper, like you're supposed to be like guns, drugs, gang violence, whatever. And not specifically, I'm not trying to put rap music in a box, but like it just was weird for him to be like singing and making and music for women. And he was like, well, making music for women is like the waviest shit you could do, and it like brings women like women as your fans brings them into the fold. It makes them, and not to like discredit female MCs from the 90s because love to see it, but like a man doing that was like bringing like that energy into something that was overtly masculine is like crazy and like interesting and new, and people like really hated him for it. So it's interesting because women, like you said, women love Shawn Michaels. I am women. And to have women like be interested in watching him and watching his story and watching wrestling, like not just because of it's like big brutish men like fighting, but because like you're invested in who he is as a character, as a person, his story, like what he does. I think that's like so genius because eventually like, you know, it really does go that way. Like it really does get more like we have shocking women wrestlers. So it's going that way eventually, but it's so crazy to have Vince McMahon say like he's a man's man is almost like trying to like back him up now. To me that means more now that he said that.
Right. And a part of that is because like he lost the title, but you still have to like keep him like in contention. You still have to keep him like in a way that looks strong, I guess. You know what I mean? So I think this was kind of Vince's way of being like what makes him strong is like who he is as a person, not necessarily that because you will never sell Shawn Michaels as being like the biggest guy in the room, like it will never work because you just look at him like and all of that will be, you know, just proven. So how do you make him like believable? Like it's, you know, it's half the psychology of Shawn Michaels where it's like Shawn Michaels wrestles, like he gets his ass handed to him 95% of the time, comes back. That's how he looks strong. How does he look strong? Like his character as a person, like, you know, letting go of the title to care for his mentor. Like that's how do you make him look strong? That's how. Like, so you have to be a little bit more creative as far as how you present him to win him over. Which is interesting.
Which I also want to say now that you because now it's just like a spiral, but like even him giving up the championship to care for somebody he considers a father figure is another layer on the spectrum of masculinity, where it's like now we're getting so psychologically deep, but like that's like a strength in a totally different way, where it's like respected so much, but it's also not something you would classify as like traditionally masculine. Is like giving up your like pride and your dignity and your title and whatever, and, like, to like
this whole thing that you've
somebody.
Worked for, like to be like in that caretaker role.
Yeah, I love to see that. The layers, it's so deep. Amen. I love it.
So that is that's how the episode ends on a little bit about with Sycho Sid.
Seriously, what a sin. Hopefully he gets his legs, his sea legs as champion.
Right. I
again, starts off strong. Just let him finish.
Just like less time. Just keep it more concise.
Tight.
Yeah, tight five. So thank you as always for watching us here at the New to Wrestling podcast. Woo-hoo. We will catch you next week for another edition.
We'll see you there.
Bye.
Bye.